I told myself deleting her number was the mature thing to do. It wasn't. It was a performance, like pretending not to look at the door every time it opened, pretending not to notice when she didn't walk in. The first time I met her, it was just another Thursday at the small repair shop on the corner. Dust on the floor, the hum of a half-broken fan, the faint smell of burnt wires. The kind of place people passed through quickly, unless something they cared about was broken. She walked in carrying an old camera, heavy, silver, scratched around the lens. I remember because she held it like something fragile, like it had seen too much. "I was told you could fix this," she said, placing it on the counter. Her voice wasn't soft. It was steady, calm, but with that edge that comes from years of knowing when to be taken seriously. She wore a gray coat, sleeves slightly rolled, and no ring. I noticed that too quickly. I nodded, tried to look professional. "Depends what's wrong with it." It stopped capturing. It clicks, but nothing saves. Something about the way she said that, "nothing saves," stayed in my head longer than it should have. While I tested the camera, she stood quietly, scanning the wall of tools, the half-finished projects scattered around. Most people fidget or scroll on their phones, but she didn't. She waited, patiently. That kind of stillness makes a room feel smaller. After a few minutes, I spoke without looking up. "It's old, but not dead. Just a loose connector." "Like most things," she said. I glanced up, and she smiled just a little. The kind that ends too soon, as if she regretted letting it slip. There was a pause. Not an awkward one. Just long enough to make me aware of the sound of her breathing, of how the light hit the dust floating between us. I handed the camera back, and her fingers brushed mine. Warm. Cold. I couldn't tell. Maybe both. "How much?" she asked. "Nothing." It took a minute. She frowned slightly. "You should charge for your time." I shrugged. "You should charge for your smile, then." I didn't mean for it to sound like that. It just slipped. I wanted to take it back, but she didn't react. Not with offense, not with flirtation. Just that quiet look people give when they're OT sure if they should stay or go. Say picked up the camera. "You're too kind, mister." "Adam, Adam," she repeated, as if testing how it sounded. "I'm Nora." She left, and the bell above the door rang, twice before the silence filled everything again. That night, I kept thinking about her. The way she said my name. The camera that clicked, but saved nothing. I told myself it was curiosity, about the camera, about her story. But that was a lie. A week later, she came back. Not for the camera. For a charger. Then, the next time, to ask if I knew how to digitize old tapes. Every time she came, she had a reason. And every time, she stayed just long enough for me to forget what I was supposed to be doing. She'd ask about my work, never about my life. I'd ask about her life, and she'd steer it back to work. We had this rhythm. Questions with hidden exits. Answers that meant something else. Sometimes, when she looked at me, I couldn't tell if she saw me or someone else she used to know. I deleted her number 2 months later, right after she stopped showing up. No message, no reason. Just silence. Still, every time the door opens and the bell rings, my chest tightens before my brain can stop it. Maybe I didn't delete her number to forget. Maybe I did it to see if she'd ever make me regret it. The second time she came by, it was raining. The kind that soaks through the air, soft, endless, quiet. She stood in the doorway, hair slightly damp, holding a box of tangled film reels like she'd been carrying them too long. "I didn't want them to get ruined," she said, stepping in. Her voice had the same steadiness, but her eyes, they looked tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind that lingers behind polite smiles. I cleared space on the counter. "You kept these?" "They were my husband's," she said, before realizing she'd said it. "Were," she repeated softer, setting the box down. "He filmed everything. I was supposed to throw them away years ago." There it was, the small crack in the armor. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. Just started untangling the reels carefully, pretending it was just work. She watched in silence. The rain filled the gaps. A drop from her coat sleeve fell onto the couture, and she brushed it away with the back of her hand. Quick, almost guilty. "Sorry," she murmured. "It's fine," I said, maybe too softly. She smiled faintly, like she knew I wasn't just talking about the water. We worked side by side for a while. her helping label reels, me threading the machine. Her handwriting was precise, looping, almost old-fashioned. Every time our hands reached for the same thing, she pulled hers back first. Always first. "You're good at this," I said. "At what?" "Not saying what you mean." That made her stop. She looked at me, really looked. For a second, it felt like I'd stepped over something invisible. Then she exhaled, shaking her head. "And you're too young to think that's a compliment." The silence after that wasn't uncomfortable, just heavier. The kind that feels like it's waiting for one of you to leave before it breaks. The projector flickered to life, light spilling across the wall. Grainy footage of a beach, children running through waves. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "That's my daughter." She smiled, but it trembled. A small, involuntary thing, like muscle memory. "She doesn't talk to me much anymore," she added, almost like she forgot I was there. I wanted to say something. Anything. But my throat felt locked. So I just nodded, pretending to adjust the focus while watching the reflection of her face in the screen's glow. The film ended. The room went dark again, except for the faint blue light from the rain outside. She gathered the reels slowly, like she was collecting pieces of herself. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not asking questions." I wanted to tell her I had too many already. That every time she walked away, the air felt a little emptier. Instead, I said, "You can come by any time." She paused at the door, half-turned, rain behind her, light in her hair, and for the first time, she didn't correct me. Just smiled, tired, soft, and dangerous, before walking out into the rain. It was late, later than either of us admitted noticing. The shop had closed hours ago, but she'd asked if she could stay while I finished digitizing the last reels. Said it was safer to wait for the rain to ease. We sat side by side on the workbench, the hum of the projector filling the silence. She'd taken off her coat, draped it on the stool beside her, and I caught the faintest trace of perfume, something clean, quiet, unshowy. It fit her. On the screen, colors bled and stuttered, the past flickering in and out. She leaned forward slightly, elbows on her knees. I watched her profile, the soft focus of her eyes, how the light caught the lines on her face. They weren't flaws. They were proof she'd lived more life than I could imagine. "I used to hate being in front of cameras," she said suddenly. "He made me feel like a stranger in my own pictures." I didn't ask who he was. I didn't need to. She smiled to herself, small, sad. "Funny, right? Now I'm paying someone else to bring it all back." I could hear my pulse in my ears. There was so much I wanted to say, that she didn't look like someone who needed fixing, that I thought about her more than I should. But the words felt dangerous, like they'd spill and never stop. So instead, I said, "Sometimes things deserve a second look." She turned to me, her eyes searching. For what, I don't know. Maybe honesty. Maybe permission. A sound broke the moment. Her phone buzzing sharply on the table. She flinched. The name on the screen was blurred by a drop of rain sliding down the glass. But her expression said enough. She didn't answer, just silenced it, then stared at the dark screen for a few seconds too long. "Someone important?" I asked quietly. "Used to be." Her voice was steady, but her hands, she folded them, unfolded them, like she didn't know what to do with them. "He wants to talk." After all this time, I wanted to tell her not to. I wanted to say she didn't owe anyone her peace again, but I bit down on the words. I wasn't that person in her life. Not yet, maybe never. Instead, I reached over, almost without thinking, and slid the charger toward her. Our fingers touched. Just once. Long enough for me to feel her hesitation. She didn't pull away this time. The projector's light flickered out. Darkness swallowed the room, except for the rain light outside, silver and thin. She whispered, "Adam, this shouldn't feel like this." "I know," I said. Neither of us moved. The air between us was full, too full. Then her phone buzzed again, louder this time, and she stood, sudden, decisive. I should go. She reached for her coat. I reached for words that didn't come. At the door, she hesitated, looking back once. Eyes soft, uncertain. I almost said it. Her name, the truth, something. But the words stayed in my throat. And she left before they could become real. She came by the next evening, unannounced. No camera, no reels, no excuse. Just her. I was closing up, counting loose screws into an old tin box when I heard the bell. I didn't even have to look up. Somehow, I already knew it was her. "You shouldn't be here this late," I said, trying to sound casual. She smiled faintly. "Neither should you." We both knew it wasn't about the time. The shop felt smaller than usual. The air was still, like it was waiting for something to happen. She moved slowly, brushing her hand along the counter, eyes tracing the cluttered shelves as if searching for courage in the mess. "I went through the rest of the films," she said. "Most of them were blank, or too damaged to play. I can try to restore." "No," she interrupted. "Some things should stay broken." Her voice trembled just slightly on the word broken. That was the first time I'd heard her sound unsure. I leaned back against the table, watching her. "Then why are you here?" She hesitated, looked at the floor, then at me. "I don't know." The quiet between us stretched thin, almost fragile. The kind that dares you to breathe wrong. Finally, she said it. "What are we doing, Adam?" The question hit harder than I expected. It wasn't angry. It was tired. Honest. I didn't have an answer. I wanted to tell her that I thought about her more than I should, that I checked the door every morning like a fool, waiting for her shadow to fill it again. But all I managed was talking. She laughed softly, but there was no joy in it. "Talking isn't supposed to feel like this." "Like what?" "Like standing on the edge of something we shouldn't want." I swallowed, forcing myself to meet her eyes. "Maybe it's not about what we should want." She held my gaze for a long time. No blinking, no movement. Just two people caught in the same quiet storm. Then she stepped closer, not close enough to touch, but close enough that I could feel the heat of her, the faint scent of rain still in her hair. "You're too young to understand what this could ruin," she whispered. "Then teach me," I said before I could stop myself. Her breath hitched. One sharp inhale, one small betrayal of control. She shook her head. "You think this is about you learning something. It's not." "Then what is it about?" She didn't answer. Instead, she reached for the switch, turning off the overhead light. The room dimmed, leaving only the warm glow from the street lamp outside. In that half-light, she looked almost unreal, someone halfway between a memory and a warning. She whispered, almost to herself, "You make me feel seen." And I forgot how dangerous that can be. And before I could say a single word back, she walked out, leaving the door half open, the bell silent this time. She didn't come by for weeks after that night. At first, I told myself it didn't matter. People leave. People move on. But every time the door opened, I looked up, like muscle memory refusing to unlearn itself. Then one morning, I found something on the counter. A small envelope, tucked under the key I always leave near the register. My name written in looping handwriting I knew too well. Inside was a photo. It was old, maybe 15 years. A man, maybe in his 40s then, holding a little girl by the ocean. The wind blurred their faces, but I could see her in the photo. Younger, freer, smiling like the world hadn't yet broken her heart. The note underneath said only, "That was the last picture he ever took." No explanation. No signature. Just that. I spent the whole day staring at it between repairs, unable to decide if I should call her, or if that would make it worse. That night, I finally texted her. "You left something for me." The dots blinked for a long time before her reply came. "It wasn't meant for you to fix. Just to see." 2 days later, she showed up. No words at first, just that quiet, composed stillness again. She looked like someone who hadn't slept much. "You saw it," she said. "I did." She leaned against the counter, eyes on the floor. "His name was Daniel. My husband. He was a photographer. He died on that trip." Her voice cracked mid-sentence, then steadied again, like she'd rehearsed this before, alone. "He wanted to capture everything before he went. Said the light was different there. It was." I didn't move. I couldn't. She met my eyes then, her expression unreadable. "You remind me of him." It felt like someone had knocked the breath out of me. "Not the way you think," she added quickly. "It's the way you look at things, like you're trying to see beneath them. He used to do that too. Scared me sometimes, how deeply he saw." I wanted to say something. Anything, but words felt clumsy, useless. So I just nodded, afraid to move too fast and break whatever fragile thing this was. She exhaled slow. "When I'm here, It feels like I'm trespassing in my own life. Like I've walked backward into something I thought I buried. I stepped closer. Not enough to touch her, but enough that she didn't feel alone in the sentence. You're not trespassing, I said quietly. You're remembering. She looked up at me then, eyes shining but not wet. And what if I don't want to? I didn't answer. The silence did. Outside, the evening light stretched thin across the window, gold, fading, reluctant to let go. She reached out, brushed her fingers against the photo still lying on the counter. This was the last thing he saw, she whispered. Then, softer, and somehow you saw it too. And in that moment, no words, no promises, something shifted. Not between us. Inside us. She came again on a Sunday. No reason, no pretext, just her. The shop was half dark, shutters halfway down, the kind of afternoon where everything feels suspended. She walked in quietly, like she'd been here 1,000 times, like she didn't need permission anymore. I didn't ask why she came. Maybe because I already knew. We sat on the floor behind the counter, where the light fell through the blinds in thin, trembling lines. The silence wasn't heavy this time. It was full, like both of us had run out of pretending. I didn't think I'd see you again, I said finally. I didn't think I'd want to, she replied, with a small, honest smile that hurt to look at. But I do. She pulled something from her bag, the same old camera from the first day, the one that clicked but saved nothing. It still works, I said. I know, she whispered, placing it gently between us. But I don't. The words hung there, fragile, exposed. She looked at me, and there was no guard in her eyes anymore, no deflection, no distance. Just quiet truth. I've spent so long trying to keep things where they belong, she said. Memories, people, feelings. But you. She shook her head, searching for the right words. You don't stay where I put you. Something inside me broke at that, softly, without sound. I reached out, slowly, giving her time to move if she wanted to. She didn't. My hand brushed hers, the lightest touch, but it felt like something irreversible. Her fingers curled, hesitant at first, then certain. We stayed like that, not holding hands, not letting go, just resting in the space between. I don't know what this is, I said quietly. You don't have to, she replied. Not everything needs a name. Outside, a car passed, splashing through shallow puddles. Somewhere down the street, someone laughed. Life was still happening, loudly, indifferently, but it all felt far away. She leaned back against the counter, eyes closed, the tension in her shoulders finally unwinding. It's strange, she murmured. I used to think love was supposed to fix you. Now I think the real kind just sits with you while you figure out how to breathe again. I watched her in the dim light, the way her fingers stayed near mine even after the moment should have ended. There was no grand confession, no promise of forever. Just two people sitting in the quiet, neither brave enough to move, neither willing to break it. When she finally opened her eyes, she looked at me, really looked, and whispered, "Don't delete this too." I didn't answer. I just nodded, small and certain. And for the first time since I met her, she didn't walk away. We just sat there, the world narrowing to shared silence, the hum of the old fan, and the gentle weight of what neither of us dared to call love, but both already knew it was. It's strange how some people leave without ever really leaving. It's been months now. The shop still smells like dust and solder, the fan still hums, and the bell above the door still rings whenever someone walks in. But sometimes, when the light hits just right, that late afternoon kind that turns everything gold, I still half expect to see her silhouette there. Nora doesn't come by anymore. Not in the way she used to. But she did once, just to drop off the camera. Said she didn't need it fixed this time, didn't need it back either. I think it's time someone else captured something worth keeping, she said. And just like that, she left again. But it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a hand resting on your shoulder. One last moment of warmth before you're meant to walk alone. I didn't realize it then, but she taught me something I couldn't have learned from anyone else. That love isn't always about staying. Sometimes it's about showing up just long enough to change the shape of someone's silence. When we met, I was still trying to prove something, that I could fix things, make them work again if I just tried hard enough. But she made me see that not everything broken needs repair. Some things just need to be witnessed, held, remembered. She once said the real kind of love doesn't save you. It sits with you. I didn't understand that until the night we stopped talking about what we were and just were. That quiet, that small touch, the unspoken agreement to exist in the same breath, that's what stays. Now, I notice smaller things. The way light folds through rain. The pause before someone answers. The weight of things unsaid. I think that's her influence, seeing the world in halftones instead of absolutes. Sometimes I still scroll to her name, or the place where it used to be. My thumb hovers there, over empty space. I deleted her number once to forget. But what I've learned is, forgetting isn't the same as healing. Healing is remembering without the ache. And I think that's where I am now, not missing her, but carrying her. Quietly, gently, like a song I don't play anymore, but still hum without meaning to. I keep that old camera on the counter. Customers ask if it's for sale, and I just smile. Not this one. They don't need to know why. Because some stories aren't meant to end with goodbye. They end with understanding. And if this story made you feel something, let me know in the comments. Would you want more stories like this?